accommodation before I got there, you know, and stuff like that.
But
no, I knew absolutely no one. I had, and to me, it was sort of like that sort of kind of freedom. You know, I believe that, you know, at the time, you know, the Tina Arena song, Now I Can Dance, Now I Can Dance, that's when that came out, that song. And it was like, that's how I felt. It's like, now I can dance, I'm free. But the problem was that I took the problem with me.
You. Yeah.
So,
but how long did it take you to heal though? Because, you know, because it stays with you, and you know, it's in your mind and everything you do just reminds you of all these things that you've gone through. How did you heal to sort of just say, you know what, I need to start afresh in terms of all these emotions?
Look, I can tell you the first year that I was there, it was awful. I couldn't settle anywhere. I didn't fit. And this has been a problem throughout my life. I haven't fitted in, but the reason why that was, I now know, is because I meant to stand out. But you know what I mean? I finally worked it out after all these years, and that's what I meant to do. But you know, like, you know, at that stage, all you want to do is you just want to belong. You want to feel like you know, you fit somewhere, that you've got friends. And that first year, it was horrendous. You know, I think I moved about 5 times in that year. Because I was surrounding myself with the wrong type of people as well. My way of dealing, one of the things I'm very proud of myself, my way of dealing with the rejection and the loss and the grief that I was suffering from my dad and everything, was like, a lot of people would go to drugs, they'd go to alcohol, they'd go to that kind of thing. I used to sing at the top of my lungs. And I'm pretty sure that's why I got thrown out of some of the places I stayed in, because of that reason. So, but I mean, I have an incredible voice, but I've always been too afraid to do anything with it, due to not having, you know, self-esteem, self-worth, you know, installed into me when I was young. And so the first year was really tough. The first change was when I met my husband, who I'm still married to today. He was the first person I came across in New Zealand that actually gave a damn. You know, who wasn't out there just for what's in it for him, who actually cared enough to realize that I was a really broken soul and just needed someone to love me. You know what I mean? And so that was really, you know, way back then. But I mean, it took me years. It took me years. It wasn't until even the last 5 years, 5-6 years, that, I mean, I've been on a personal development journey pretty much since that moment. I found Tony Robbins, and this is when Tony Robbins was just so tiny compared to where he is now. Not tiny as in size, but you know what I mean? Like, he's a big man, Chelsea. He's huge. He's huge. Yeah. And I can vouch for that, because I've had his arms wrapped around my waist, so I can vouch for that. I have, yes. But you know, I started following Tony Robbins when he actually had a message board, would you believe, just on his website, and there was people that used to, you know, inhabit that message board, and I'm still friends with some of those people today. You know, it took me 20 years now, so it's been quite a journey. But it wasn't until the last 5 years, and I can tell you the journey on the way was really bumpy. There was a time when all of Pete's family, so not only did my family desert me, but all of Pete's family told me I wasn't good enough and that they didn't want me to be part of their family. And you know, I was talking to a friend about this just the other day. When you reach that point where your own family don't want you, and then your in-laws don't want you, the first thing you go is like, what's wrong with me?
What do I do? Like, where do I run to? Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with me?
And then you start looking at yourself at what's happening, who do I speak to?
That's it, you know. And so not having confidence, not having self-esteem, self-worth, or any of that, you know, naturally it's easy to live in that world of depression. I mean, with what I know now, and I mean, I'm great with his family now. We get along very well. You know, it's all been healed. It's all been you know, fixed. His mum and I have a great relationship. But back then, the problem was back then is I was still surrounding myself
the wrong people.
Yes, even though they turned out to be the right people eventually. At that time, in their space, where they were in their space, where I was in my space, we clashed. You know, so yeah, it's only been the last 5 years, really, since NLP, that my life has changed. But you know, even with that, I still went through a really bad time in the last few years, you know. So now I know you wanted positive, but we're getting there, trust me.
Yes, and you know, this is where, like, my God, we go through so many things, and then you just reach that point, like, oh my God, what happened?
Yeah.
Like, you even feel something choking your throat when you think about all these things where you've started from and see where you are. So
yeah, absolutely. So yeah,
and you know, you actually appreciate more, and people appreciate more when you tell them that, look, you don't understand. This is my time. Let me celebrate.
yeah, that's exactly right. You know, I mean, like, so like 4 years ago, we found ourselves in a situation where we lost the business we'd had for 14 years. It was partly our fault. We take responsibility for probably not waking up soon enough, if you know what I mean. But let's just say we discovered there was a boys club, we'll call it, okay, who decided to take me out.
Wow.
And I wasn't even, because I wasn't aware of it, because it's not something I would do to somebody, you know. And I think unless you are of that like mind, sometimes you don't see it coming, and we certainly didn't see.
You don't even think about it. You don't.
No,
like,
I mean, I'm a genuinely loving and honest person, and I don't treat, you know, I don't do underhanded things. And so I didn't see it coming, and we lost our business of 14 years. We actually went back to Auckland for a year to, well, the goal was to go back and sell this business for 3 million. That was the goal. Okay. From the moment we arrived in Auckland, and even though the boys club had known about me in the past, I wasn't in their face. As soon as I got into their face, that was it. They decided to take me out, and within 12 months, we'd gone from believing we could build it to sell it for 3 million to walking away. In 12 months, they just screwed our prices up. They just did, you know, all these little underhand things, which we didn't know what was happening. We didn't see it happening. It just blindsided us, you know. So I mean, I take responsibility for my side on that, where I wasn't aware, I wasn't awake enough to realize what was going on, you know. And I mean, that's something you learn with hindsight. But we end up coming back to Australia pretty much with our tail between our legs and just 5 boxes. And you know, we've got 2 kids to feed. It's like, you know, it's like we got down to our last $10 actually. I can remember the day specifically. We were at the mall, and I had rent was due the next day, and I had no idea how we were going to pay the rent. We didn't obviously own a house anymore. That was gone. So, yeah, we lost everything. We lost houses. We lost everything. We lost business. We were heavily in debt. No clue how we were going to bail ourselves out of it, pretty much at that stage. And I haven't really told too many people the story, because obviously it's not the story you tell until after you've got back on top. You know what I mean? Then you tell them.
Yeah.
We're at the mall, and the kids wanted a donut. You know, and of course we've not let on to the kids that things were tough or anything like that, because you don't, you know. And so they're used to getting the donut when they want the donut, you know. And I bought them donut, and I had $10 left, and I thought, you know what? It's time to trust in the universe. It is. And there was a man at the counter whose card declined for his milkshake. And so I took my $10 and I said, here, take your milkshake. And I gave him my very last $10.
And you had nothing?
Nothing. There was food in the cupboard, but that was it. I had no idea how I was going to pay the rent the next day. It was due. It was like, and I had nothing. And I thought, you know what? At this stage, it's time to have faith. Time to have absolute faith. I not only grieving the loss of my business, you find out who your friends are at that time.
Yeah. I think when you are broken, when you're really broken, and there's just so much weight on top of you, that's when you see who your true friends are.
And I can tell you, they ran a mile. Like the people I thought who were in my life, there was one person in particular who was very, very important to me. He broke me. It wasn't a romantic relationship. It was a extremely strong friendship that I had given my heart and soul to. And he completely broke me. So at that point in my life, even after all I'd been through, you know, and I'd had successful businesses and everything. I was completely broken, and I just got to that point where I thought, you know what, and I can't swear on this, but the F word came, and I just went, and I just gave him the money. And the beauty of that was the next day, and this still to this day, it just blows me away. And Tony Robbins actually has a similar story of how this happened to him as well, kind of thing. And I think it's really your defining moment, you know, your turning moment. So the next day, a client of mine from America, one that I'd finished working with, I was doing breakthroughs at that stage for neuro-linguistic programs, so helping people with their mindset and, like, you know, helping them find their confidence and certainly, even though I was a broken mess, I was still helping others, you know.
Yeah.
And we finished working. We, you know, I kept in contact with my clients, as you do, to, you know, follow through them. Yeah. And she messaged me and she says, "Are you okay?" And I said to her, and I thought to myself, you know what? I thought, now is the time to say that you're not okay. Now is the time to finally put your hand up and say, you know what?
Yeah.
Things aren't going well. I'm not doing good. And I did that. I thought, you know, I'm just going to swallow my pride here. And I'm just going to tell this girl who's just a client of mine who I know I've helped immensely, you know, I'm just going to tell her that I'm not okay. And I said, no, I'm not okay. Things have not gone well. We're pretty much broke, and, you know, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to pay the rent. And she said to me, she goes, okay, she goes, that's fine. She goes, how much do you need? And I just thought to myself, you know what, this is someone on the other side of the world that hardly knows me apart from I've done some work for her, you know? And I said, I knew this woman was well off. I knew this woman was well off. And so I said to her, I said, look, if you could loan me $2.5 US, that would get me by. And she said, it's in your PayPal already. Just like that, with no question, no.
And she was not even your friend, and your friends ran.
Yeah, like not even, she didn't even, like, you know, ask for how long it would take me to pay it back or anything like that. I can tell you, I had it back to her within a month. I did, because it was like a real, for somebody who could just give like this, you know, from their heart. And I don't think, to be honest with you, I don't think she would have even been bothered if I hadn't paid it back.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just like, and that was my real turning point, to know that there's those people out there that just, you know, when the chips are down, that they will be there. I mean, how did she even know? That's the thing.
And then you connected dots, like, and this, I'm not sure if I'm a Christian. I'm a very staunch Christian. I believe in destiny. I believe, you know, the previous day when you gave out all you had, you know, and then there comes just a blessing from nowhere. Seriously, this high universe is there. It works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, you know, it's funny because from that's when I started to build things back up. Not only did I pay her back within a month, I'd also, it's interesting, one of the people that had deserted me, the year before, popped back into my life slightly, and I was offered an opportunity to go to Melbourne to do a speaking course, and I did it. With a very prominent gentleman that worked with Tony Robbins for many years. And I did that. But from that moment, it's like someone turned a switch and things started to improve. I got back and started doing breakthroughs online, and I ended up having 4 coaches on my team at the time, and they were all like, you know, I actually worked out I was earning $39,000 a month in a couple of months with this business. It just took off, you know what I mean? But with that, and I mean, people think, oh my God, it's at the end of the journey. But see, with that came a lot of, I needed to do a lot of healing. Do you know what I mean? And so that was in February in 2019. And by May, I had burnt myself out completely. It just, well, I wasn't in alignment with what I was doing. I was making money now, but I wasn't in alignment. And I burnt myself out completely. My husband wasn't working. He hadn't been working for a couple of years, which put all the pressure on me, you know. And that's okay. It swings and roundabouts. It's the way it goes. That's how we've always worked, you know. And so we got to May, and I was basically waking up in tears in the morning, you know, and doing what I could. He got offered a opportunity with a friend of his to work as a mechanic, and he didn't even ask me. He just went and took it because it was like $55 an hour, which is very good money. You know, that's not bad money considering. And so he basically just come home to me that day and he said, right, he says, you're putting all this is stopping. He says, and you're just going to sit here and you're going to watch movies this week, and you're just going to take some time out. He says, you need to heal. He says, I've got this now. I've got the reins. I'm taking control. He says, you need to heal yourself. You know, and so I took that advice, and thank God I did, because my mum passed 3 weeks later. Yeah.
Did you have that time with her before she passed away? Yeah,
I did. You know, I mean, I haven't let on, but I come from a very abusive background. Again, my mother struggled with her own depression and her own, like, you know, she had no self-worth, no self-confidence, and so there was a lot of abuse. And one of the most beautiful things, I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to my dad. My dad died very quickly. There was no chance to, you know, tidy up any loose ends that were there. My mother and I had a very rocky relationship, on again, off again kind of thing. What I'm very, very grateful for is the last 2 years of her life. Yeah. I built the relationship back with her for the sole reason that regardless of what had happened in the past, you know, I mean, I wanted to make sure that I knew I'd done everything I could do to be the perfect, well, not perfect, but the best daughter I could be. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I'm very proud of.
And for you, you're doing it for you, doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's the thing, you've got to do things for yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, and so we got that conversation. I remember the immense feeling of gratitude. It was, we spoke on the phone. And I told her that I got it. I told her that I understood that she did the best that she could. And so I always tear up with this part. I'm sorry, I do. So, and I explained to her that, you know, I understood that she didn't have the confidence, she didn't have the certainty in herself. And so how can she teach that to
somebody when she didn't grow up that way? I think she did the best she knew.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just.
So that's one of the messages I'd like to instill for people that are watching this, Agnes, is that, you know, stop blaming your parents. Okay, they did the best that they could with what they had. This is a woman that, you know, she was so full of her own pain that she didn't know how to, you know, install those things into me, you know. So, you know, you're responsible for going and finding those things yourself. That's the thing, you know. And I mean, I will never forget the gratitude I felt. I mean, we hung up the call and I actually picked the phone up straight away in tears, and like, you know, I didn't know she only had 2 days left to go at the stage, you know. It's like she was in hospital, but they'd given her 6 months. So I didn't even know that we only had 2 days left, you know. But just the gratitude to have been able to share that moment with her, you know. So I always tear up when I talk about this. So yeah. Now I know this is dragging on, so I'll cut a long story short. It's like I just kept getting back up. My business partners these days tell me, and one of the girls I'm in business with, Jules Vetchu, she's actually been through this whole journey with me. She's one of the people that stuck by me. Do you know what I mean? And she will tell you that she's just watched me get up over and over again. I, you know, obviously sat for a little while after Mum died, and then got back up again and tried something else, and that didn't fly, and so I fell over again. And then I got up again, and I had another crack at something, and it didn't quite pan out, and I fell over again, you know. And then in March 2020, when this whole pandemic thing fell, I suddenly had the inspiration to write a book. Okay. And having been in business for 25 years, having created 13 successful businesses from scratch by this stage, I kind of knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
So I decided to write a book on that, and I seriously wrote this book in under 18 hours.
Under 18 hours. Oh my God. And here I am. I've been struggling to finish my book for almost 6 months now.
I know, but it is when you know this information, it just flows out. You know what I mean? So yeah. So I mean, I can remember it. Like I started at like 5 o'clock on a Friday morning, and the beauty of my family is they know that when I'm in creation mode, you just got to let Mum go. All right. And I swear that weekend there was literally food being pushed under my door. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, someone was sneaking with a cup of coffee, and like they'd sneak out like
yeah, like she's still in that zone. Do not disturb.
That's it. For the whole weekend I just wrote for like 8 hours a day solidly, pretty much, you know. Yeah. And anyway, I had this book, it was completed, and I thought, now what? Because I mean, how do you get it out there? How do you get it seen?
Publish, how do you advertise? How do you know?
That's right. Sure, I've been in business, but I've never published a book before. Do you know what I mean? And lo and behold, the universe